Are you hungry? Because if so, you're in the right place. Today we're making Yardbird's Katsu Sando.
Give me something good.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Görgött. Well, it's a modern classic, I would say. Yardbird in Hong Kong. They gave out a wonderful cookbook on Phaidon, and this is one of the recipes in there. I do it a little bit different, but not much. But before we go into the ingredients and what we've done here on the board, please do me a favor as always. If you're not a subscriber to the channel yet, please hit that subscribe button and check the bell icon so that you get a notification every Tuesday when a new episode is out. But now let's have a look at the board. So there's not much here. It's our mince, our coleslaw, our shokupan, our milk bread, our bulldog tonkatsu sauce, and some sriracha. So I'll show you first. Well, first we'll have a look at how we did the mince. We have boneless chicken thigh, about half a kilo. We also need panko. This is 40 grams of panko, about 100 grams of onion, and 6 grams of salt. Now they call this katsu, but katsu just means cutlet, and we're actually making a mince out of it. So Tori katsu, but it's not really a cutlet. But the first thing we have to do is chop up our chicken. So let's do that. And obviously this will be much simpler if you have kind of a meat grinder, but I don't. So we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way and cut it up. Skin on. It's nice and fatty. So we start big and then we just cut smaller and smaller. And eventually we're going to be able to just go over it with the cleaver. Just make sure your fingers are not underneath the blade. I won't show you the whole thing because it would take too long, but I start out like this and then we just go in and basically chop up like this. And this also gives you a nice mince. I think I'm relatively happy with what it looks like now. So try to get to this stage. And if you have a meat grinder, just run it through there twice. So I'll see you once we're done with the chicken. We have our chicken mince, our salt, and our panko in there. All that's left now is the onion. Now the recipe calls for chopped onion, but that has been watered. And I just think that's a shame. I like the sharpness of onions. So I'm not watering them, I'm just putting the onions in like they are. But feel free to do it whichever way you prefer. And I'm slowly starting to cry a bit. There we are, this goes into. And that's basically our whole mix. I'm gonna dry my eyes out. And now all we need to do is mix all of this together. Again, I was a bit stingy on bowl size. It will be easier if you have a bigger bowl. But that's basically our katsu mix, or Tori katsu. As you see, very easy. Even if you don't have a meat grinder, you can do it by hand. It's not as fine, it won't be as fine, but I don't mind a bit of texture in this dish. Next up, our coleslaw. Now for our cabbage, or coleslaw, whatever, we need some white cabbage, we need a bit of KewPie, and a bit of salt. We're just gonna cut this off thinly. You don't need very much. I'm pretty sure 1/4 of a small cabbage like this is enough. Very thinly sliced. Not going to need even 1/4. A little bit more. I think that's good. Now we just need to salt this to get some water out of it. Just mix it so the salt gets a bit everywhere. And then we leave this to stand, a couple of minutes. That's even a couple of minutes. So it's been about 5 minutes now. We're going to take this and we're going to squeeze it. You can see we're getting a lot of water out. And that's what we want. It should not be a wet cabbage salad or coleslaw or whatever you want to call it. I think we have it there. Put it back in the bowl. I decided to change the recipe a bit. We're putting some Sishimi Togarashi in here. It's going to go well with it. And our KewPie. Not too much. Make sure that you mix it well. Give it a little bit of a try. Nice and crunchy. I'm adding a pinch of salt to it. And there we have our coleslaw. One last try. Perfect. As you saw, the difference between this one and the original recipe is I add some Sishimi Togarashi to it, just to add that little bit of extra spice. But we have to do 2 things before we can start frying, and that's we need to make the sauce and we need to form the patties. So let's start with the sauce. Now, I got a scale because I'm not sure how much we'll need. I'll go by eye, but it's important. Well, it's not that important because the Sriracha is 10% of the bulldog sauce. So let's see, maybe we do, let's do 60. I think that should be enough. So 10% of 60 is 6. $66. And now we just mix this up. And it just adds a bit of, give it a quick taste, a bit of a back in the mouth chili spice to it, which is quite nice. So our sauce is done. Next, patty. Now since we're putting this in bread, I kind of want to already Do a little bit of a square one, if I can. Something along these lines. Maybe a little bit bigger. We obviously don't want it to fall apart when we fry it. But I think if we're careful with this one, it should be okay. Let's make one more. It's about the same size. Making sure we try to pack it nicely. And we'll make a leftover one. Just because I don't want to make the other two bigger. The last thing I forgot to mention we have to prep is the bread. So let's slice that up too. And we all know how to slice bread, it's not difficult. I'm going to use this for the two sandwiches. Should be about the right size. That will be our two sandos afterwards. I have some deep fat frying oil on there. We need it to reach 170 degrees. So let's move the camera over there and then we'll deep fat fry our katsu, which is not really katsu. So our oil is up to temperature. I'm doing one at a time because I have a small pot. It's going to take about 6 minutes. We want the oil to be at around 170 degrees. Let's see if we can turn this without splattering too much. It's always a bit of a challenge. There we go. There we are. The 6 minutes, I actually measured the core temperature, put it on a piece of kitchen paper. It needs to be above 65 degrees. And we were at 70, so that's good. I'm going to do the other two now, and then we'll assemble the sandwich. So we're pretty ready to assemble the Katsu Sando, but we need to toast one side of the bread first. So I have a hot pan here in the back. I'm just going to toast it a bit without anything in the pan. Will take probably a minute on each side. So I'll see you once those are toasted, and then we can start to... Oh, you know what we can do in the meantime? We need to glaze this with the sauce. We'll get some on top. Make sure we smother it with it. Both sides. It's going to make all the difference. You need enough sauce. So that's ready. We can start with this side. Put our coleslaw out. And here is our second one. We'll put the chicken on there. Move the board over a bit. And now we assemble. And we press down, turn around, and press down. We cut off the edges. That away, and now we do the classical cut down the middle. Look at that. Put a spit in between just to keep it together, and then we're ready to serve this up. Get rid of this. Get another plate. Clean up this a bit. Now, as always, while I clean up this. If you're stuck with it this far, there must have been something you enjoyed about this episode. So do me a huge favor and hit that thumbs up button. It's just down there. Takes you just 1 second, but it's so valuable to me, so I will be very grateful. But now, let's dig in. This is a big sando, but I can't wait to give this a try. This is so good. Has a bit of crunch, a bit of heat there. Comfort food. And the chicken patty is so juicy. And for me, it's completely fine without the meat grinder. The guys at Yardbird are genius for coming up with this dish. Saltiness, heat, still freshness there. I mean, the bulldog sauce has a bit of sourness to it as well. My hands, I look like I should look when you eat the sando like this. Is that they say sometimes? Finger licking good. Now, that's pretty much it for today. If you have any question about this recipe, leave them in the comments below. I always answer the comments. And don't forget, if you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe. Check the bell icon to get notifications. But that's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed our Katsu Sando from Yardbird. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.